occur with the fundings from Prop 47, and we have gotten creative answers, all which are very heartfelt, great concern for the invisible members of our communities that can't be in rooms like this, individuals like all of you who have come forward to speak on their behalf. It's truly moving when we see this kind of concern, participation, and energy. As you know, the Department of Finance gave us a figure when the budget rolled out about the savings associated with Prop 47. Overall, it was $29 million this year. 65% of that comes to the BSCC, which is just over 19 million. And that's what we'll roll out in July of 17 after the process all takes course, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. It's a competitive grant process. We'll explain to you our process. We'll describe to you what an executive steering committee is. We're also going to talk to you about 1056, which is the bill the speaker, who is from San Diego, authored and gave us some parameters on how she would like us to roll out the money and what emphasis we should pay attention to. Because this conversation is about you tonight, we don't want to take up too much time, but I would like to do some introductions, and we're going to do a brief, short educational portion where we'll talk about the bill itself, the rollout, and 1056. Let me first begin by introducing one of our board members, and I think familiar to you in San Diego, Chief Bejarano. He is the chief in Chula Vista, I think previously San Diego, so he may look familiar to you. He sits on our board and has participated in the very process we're going to describe for you tonight. To my right, again, is Leticia Perez. She is a supervisor from Kern County, previously a public defender, and of importance to you tonight, she is a co-chair for the executive steering committee that's going to roll out this competitive process and eventually read all of the proposals and make some decisions that will be rolling the funding to communities. As I told you, I'm the chair, Linda Penner. I hearken from Fresno County and now work in and out of San Diego. My previous career, I was chief probation officer in Fresno and have really had a great 2.5-year stint with the state because we are really changing things, I think, in the state of California, and I'm really excited to be in a position where I can assist in that change. When the change started, we had to find somebody that was good at running organizations, and we went to the courts and found Katie Howard. Katie is our executive director at the BSCC. She has all the oversight of the day-to-day operations, and I tease her a lot, but she truly is brilliant. You're going to hear from her this evening. And another brilliant member of our staff is Ricardo Goodrich. He's going to play a number of roles tonight. We give him all the hard work to do, so he'll do the heavy lifting on much of the education you'll hear. We're going to begin. I don't know, would you like to say a few opening remarks? Sure. Okay. You have one of your own.
Really am delighted to see a packed house tonight, such an engaged community. We are at such an exciting time in the conversation on criminal justice reform and in the changing and perpetual evolution of the state of California. I see it as a remarkable time in the history of this state. As a former public defender, I always say the number one question I was ever asked by a client was, Ms. Perez, can you help me get a job? And the very sad, heartbreaking reality is that I was often looking at a person that did not have a marketable skill set, often was functionally illiterate, had been in the system for many, many years, and really had no clue about how to get into law-abiding society, if you will. And that was tough for me. 3 years of watching that, the revolving door, if you will. Many of my clients doing what we call life on the installment plan. And so I am so grateful that the conversation, at least in California, is shifting in a way that it is not happening anywhere else in this country. And I appreciate the desire for some folks to have us move much quicker than we are and do a lot more than what we're doing today. But I am just so excited that I get to be at the table at a time and place when more is happening than has ever happened before, and it's only happening in California. And it is a great time to be at the table. It is a great time to be able to listen to so many of you who care so much about these issues and have been doing the grunt work day to day for a long time, many of you for decades. So hats off to you. Thank you. I really appreciate your insight and the fact that we can continue to develop a partnership on these issues. And while we may have some mild disagreements, I think fundamentally we are on the same page and moving in the same direction. And I'm excited about what that means for all of us. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you tonight.
Once more, if you would like to speak tonight, please fill out a speaker's card. I think our staff in the back will grab those and bring them up. There'll be a 2-minute limit on the speaking portion of this, and we respectfully ask you to honor that because there are a lot of people that want to speak, and I really would like to get through that while we have a full audience that's listening to what's going on. With that, I'm going to lean to Ricardo and have him take over his portion of the agenda.
Good night again, and thank you all for coming out tonight. As Linda said, we're just going to take a few moments to provide just a very brief overview of Proposition 47 and an accompanying bill known as Assembly Bill 1056. Many of you in the audience may already be familiar with it, so we truly won't spend too much time, but we did not want to make any assumptions either. So Proposition 47, also known as the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act, was a voter-approved initiative in 2014, and it was approved by about 60% of California's voters. The proposition did several key things. It reduced penalties for certain non-serious and non-violent offenses. It allows individuals to petition the court to remove certain non-violent crimes from their record. Savings generated from the act must be invested into prevention and support services. And also part of the reason that we're here today is it created a grant program. And some of the key tenets outlined for that grant program include mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, diversion, and recidivism reduction. And as we said, accompanying Proposition 47, as you can see over my shoulders, Assembly Bill 1056. And this is a bill from the Speaker's House that added legislative priorities to Prop 47. Some of the key things that you can see up there are it addressed housing-related assistance, community-based services, job training, and then it went a little bit deeper and asked that the grant process designed by the BSCC be competitive, as well as be open to both young adults and adults in general. So with that said, we really look forward tonight to hearing your feedback on some of these key topic areas. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Director, Katie Howard, to provide some more specifics about what the BSCC's role and the rollout will look like for this initiative.
Thank you, Ricardo, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. As Linda said, we've had a fantastic week on our roadshow and are learning so much by listening to communities about priorities and interests under these Prop 47 responsibilities for the board. So I'll be brief on this part because really the reason we're here is to hear from all of you, but we did want to give you a little bit more information about our responsibilities and how the grant program is structured. Again, briefly, this is a new grant program. The funding is provided through the state savings in Prop 47. And in the initiative, it was specified that the program priorities are mental health services and substance use disorder treatment services. As we've been talking about Prop 47 in recent board meetings and in these kinds of community meetings, there have been some questions about some other aspects of the BSCC's responsibilities for jail construction. The Prop 47 funding is totally separate and distinct from jail construction funding. And I'm anticipating that we'll have some other comments related to that tonight. by and large, because we have a large stack of speaker cards here, we probably won't be able to answer questions tonight. If you do have questions, please let us know, and we can easily follow up by email. Many things may already be covered in the frequently asked questions on our website, but just wanted to give the sense that we really do have a lot of people who want to talk and give their comments, so that's the priority for tonight. Under Assembly Bill AB 1056, some of this is really important and provides the structure for the Executive Steering Committee that will administer the grant. So again, as noted from Prop 47, the grant program is for public agencies. That's something to underscore briefly here. There is a clear expectation that public agencies will be partnering closely with community service providers, but the lead applicant for Prop 47 funding does have to be a public agency. That might be a city agency, a county agency, a housing authority, even a school district, a mental health, a county mental health, or a city mental health organization. Any number of different public agencies might apply in a lead role. As we've mentioned, the focus is on mental health treatment, substance use disorder treatment, and diversion programs for people in the criminal justice system affected by Prop 47 and the crimes that were reclassified. Linda already mentioned the savings in the first year. The total statewide savings is $29.3 million, and 65% of that is just over $19 million. That's the first year amount that we're working with. After the first year, some of the state costs will decrease, things like the large number of court hearings that had to take place during the first year of implementation. So the savings will be higher. And in the second year, that 65% amount that comes to us goes up quite a bit. It's $26.3 million in year 2. And then ongoing, at this point, it's anticipated to be $37.4 million annually. So now turning to the committee that will be responsible for constructing the application and setting the criteria for the competitive grants. We call that an Executive Steering Committee, or BSC for short. And in the BSCC, we have a lot of experience with administering grant programs, and the Executive Steering Committee process has served us really, really well for many decades. Those committees always include subject matter experts on whatever the focus of the grant is. We always seek balanced and diverse membership. And in AB 1056 in particular, some additional parameters were spelled out. The members of that Executive Steering Committee may be from state and local governmental entities. They must also be from community-based treatment and service providers. Those must be included on that committee. Also, people who have been formerly incarcerated will be represented on that committee. And with the expertise in areas that you can see up here on the slide: homelessness and housing, behavioral health, substance abuse treatment, and rehabilitative treatment for adults. The timeline, very briefly, for rolling out these Prop 47 grants is as follows. We have a button on our website under Prop 47 that asks for people who are interested in serving on the ESC to submit a statement of interest. We should note that that committee, in order to get the work done, can only be at the most somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 to 20 members. But nonetheless, we want to hear from the community and have been encouraging people to submit a statement of interest. We'll be taking those through the end of February. And the board about what that committee roster is going to look like. So the board will approve an executive steering committee in April. And then the committee will begin the really important and thoughtful work of structuring the grant program, writing the request for proposals. You'll hear the abbreviation RFP tonight a lot. And that's basically the grant application. So what are the different kinds of programs that can be funded? What needs to go into the application? It's a great deal of work, and we're really thrilled to have Supervisor Perez and also Scott Budnick working as co-chairs. Scott Budnick is from Los Angeles. He's a passionate advocate. Many of you are probably familiar with him. He's also a member of our board. So those two together, I think, are going to be tremendous leaders in this effort. Once they have completed the drafting of the RFP, The BSCC will approve that draft, and then it will be let out in the field early in 2017. And as the supervisor mentioned, I know it often sounds like, wow, that's an awfully long time, but the work needs to be done thoughtfully and carefully and with plenty of time for input as well. So early next year, that RFP will be let out in the field. The applications will all come in, and then that same executive steering committee will review and rate and score all the proposals. And then the top ranked proposals will get the funding in the first year. That's a really quick review of how the grant program will work. And what we are here tonight is to hear your input into that. Just a couple of other notes. I already mentioned the frequently asked questions on the BSCC website, and we also are very happy to take your questions and comments by email. There's a email address there. So we are now ready for the moment we've all been waiting for, and that's to hear public comment. We're just going to leave this slide up here and ask you to please give us your name. If you are representing an organization, let us know. Of course, if you're here just on your own behalf, that's perfectly fine. And then we simply want to hear what you think the funding priorities for Prop 47 should be. One of our colleagues will be keeping the time, so you'll hear a tone or a bell when the 2 minutes is up, and we really, really appreciate if you could then quickly wrap up so that we can get through all the public comments that others have come out tonight to give. I will call up probably 4 or 5 names at a time. If you wouldn't mind just forming a line, and then I'll call up several more. Do feel free to complete a comment card if you haven't done so yet. And we are ready. So the first 4 to please come forward are, and in advance, I'm going to apologize if I don't pronounce your name right, or if I can't read your writing. I'm doing the best I can. Starting with Leticia Casares, Abel Macias, Elizabeth Stewart, Maria Elena Morales, and Pastor Terrell Fletcher. Please come forward. It's okay if you don't keep the exact same order. That's just to get folks in line. So when you're ready, please begin. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't expecting that, but here I go. My name is Leticia Cáceres. I am representing myself, community member, but also San Isidro Health Centers, a community health center with a network of about 12 clinics in the south region of San Diego, as well as central and southeast San Diego. We serve 90,000 patients, primarily communities, patients of color. And so I'm here tonight to advocate for the funding to, number 1, stay in the communities as much as possible and not in jails. I would really like for us to address the root of the issue, a lot of the issues, and why we see the revolving door in criminal justice system so full of the people we serve, and that's the mental health services and substance abuse services. So we do provide that through county contracts. Very insufficient. We have several challenges in not only recruiting, but retaining clinicians and providers. I can tell you right now, which tells you and demonstrates the need. We had 400,000 visits last year. 18,000 of those were mental health visits. That's 5%. We know that is very, very much under what we could be doing. And a big reason is because we can't keep the staff, the clinicians. Right now, there are 12 vacancies. So can you imagine what we could do with 12 filled positions of clinicians to do the work? As community health centers, we're in a position, we're trusted. We've been around for 47 years. The Latino community down in the South region, we grew. We primarily serve about 80,000 or 80% Latinos. And I can tell you that there's a severe unmet need. We are trusted. Mental health is stigmatized. Who not better to be the people to reach out to them and to really provide those services. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Abel Macias. I'm a professor of Chicano Studies at San Diego City College, and I'm also a formerly incarcerated young person. But I was able to change my life because of the help and support that I got from the people in my community. I actually have more questions than I have answers based on your presentation. It appears like there's already 2 priorities set. and it appears that the funding is specified for public agencies as well. So I'm not sure how much flexibility there is around those. I know it's it was an assembly bill, or you mentioned the appropriations. So I'm not sure how much leeway there is for that. But if there is any leeway, because if not, we're just I'm here in vain. But I think that community-based organizations, grassroots organizations, do good work. I'm a member of a grassroots organization called BSCC as well. And we've been around for 20 years. We're celebrating our 20-year anniversary. And all of the work that we did when we first started was all raised through our community fundraising efforts, and we've been able to do a lot of great work. And so I think it's important that community-based organizations are able to access that funding either through, if not directly, through grants that are given to them by the county or the city or the state. The problem with that is a lot of that money gets wasted on bureaucracy, and so the money that could be used for direct services is wasted on executives, right, instead of frontline staff. And so I think money could be used very wisely if we consider how we can use it directly to support and provide direct services to the young people that need it most. And so that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Don't leave if you don't mind. Hang on just a minute. You raised a couple of questions I think are really important to address. First is, yes, this to go to a governmental agencies. And I think Katie did a good job of indicating, historically you see it go to the county, maybe the sheriff, maybe the probation department. This money is much different. It can go to a school district, it can go to a community college, it can go to a city, a county. All of that is accurate. With that said, the bill itself asks for a strong link of collaboration. I think there will be priorities, not just to, certainly mental health, drug treatment, but also highlighted is housing, job training, and so we have many priorities. Those are really the top four, but a real direct communication from the speaker's bill herself was heavy collaboration with all the stakeholders. So reckoning with that, she asked us to make sure when we created this executive steering committee, it had people from all those disciplines at the table when it begins to be constructed. So I don't want to leave you hopeless, because it's absolutely not just government that's going to participate in this. And the other thing I think is important to talk about tonight is it's a competitive grant. So maybe when you see this occur in the past, 58 counties are the only ones applying. The competition will be much broader, obviously, because there's many governmental agencies across the state. With that said, probably the smart approach is collaboration of San Diego County to come together and bring all of their partners forward and demonstrate in their competitive grant that they can work together and they know how to get the money down to the base level, the face-to-face kinds of contacts. So we really don't want to stop that mode of thinking. I can't tell you what your county or governmental agencies in your county will do as an approach. I can tell you that creativity and collaboration will be very well received. And the last thing I'll say is, this is year one of the money. Reckoning with the fact it'll go up in year two and it'll be ongoing year three and out. You may not prevail in round one, but I would really encourage every community, and we have up and down the state, to compete and be very involved, because year one is simply that, year one. It's an ongoing source of funding.
Thank you. I just want to mention one last thing. The focus of our work is around culture, and sometimes that is an aspect that usually gets left out when we're talking about mental health. And that's the the center that we revolve around is using culture, specifically in the Chicano community. Thank you.
And the other thing we've heard a great deal about, Letitia, you raised it, and that is the mental health issues that are out there and reckoning with the fact that we have co-occurring disorders out there and it's very complex. So that's been raised, but I appreciate you. Keep talking. We're taking notes.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Elizabeth Stewart. I'm here as just a mom. I'm the mother of an inmate. I work with a group known as Families Amending California 3 Strikes, Facts and Education. I work with Moms United. But as just a mom, I'd like to say I want to make sure my son comes out of jail, which I hope he does. And for those that are already coming out, thanks to Prop 47, that they have a place to go, that their children have support. So when they do find a job, they're able to help these children. Because I'm a grandmother raising the children of my son who's an inmate. And it's very difficult. My son also has a drug abuse problem, as do most people in prison, and that's the reason they're there. He stole property. And I like to see that there's a lot of this funds put towards education for rehabilitation and research. I think keeping the money in the community is the most important thing. Education is key to prevent recidivism. Hope I said that one correct. It's a big word, sorry. And I would also like to see funding for grandparents who are taking care of the children, why these young men and women are going through rehab. I think that's a big issue. I, as a parent, grandparent here, have a hard time paying for daycare in San Diego. It is astronomical. I mean, I'm paying $1,200 a month for 2 little kids, and that's at a reduced rate, and that's a great price, I'm told. I had to look around for that. I don't qualify for assistance, even for the grandparent program, because I'm not 55. And there's a lot of young grandparents, because the inmates are young, who are forced to take the children. I took on my children when my little granddaughter was 9 months old, and she's currently 5. Her father was arrested when mom was pregnant. So to me, this is a real issue. And the drug addiction is the whole reason he's there. And I know June 26, I know it's a little off the subject, 2015, but the feds declared 3 strikes unconstitutional. I'm hoping more will be coming out, and this money will be able to help out lots of people. If we prevent people from going back, they can pay taxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for all being here and being representative of San Diego. On November 4th, 2014, 59.6% of Californians gave me and my 5 children a voice. For 15 plus years, I was a meth addict. I went in and out of programs. Programs then became funded or just privatized, and people who didn't have the money weren't able to actually get the help they needed. Now I stand here going on 5 years clean off methamphetamines, and I'm proud to say that Prop 47 has empowered me to be the woman I am today. I'm a representative of San Diego City College, and as a program that we're starting here on campus, it's a program that's going to be set for resources for people who've been formerly incarcerated. San Diego City College has a very big, diverse community, and I like to believe that we are the community within the community, and we're teaching our students to go back out there, represent who we are. So I think it's important that the money goes back into education. If we put money back into jails, we're only dissatisfying the voices that voted on November 4th. So if we continue to put money into jails, people like me, you're taking my voice away. And I've been very proud to be able to stand here. I was currently chosen for a nationwide leadership program because of my education and because people stood for me and because San Diego believed in me, that I represent one of the representatives of California. And other states, people who are working on this kind of work are so amazed by Prop 47 that California actually passed it. Now they're sitting here waiting to see what you guys decide where this money will go. And you know what? You guys can make a really big difference in who I am today, where my 5 children are. I'm proud to say 2 of my daughters who were drugged through my drug addiction are both going to community college. My oldest daughter suffers from PTSD, and today she's getting help for it because resources are finally coming out. I also have to speak on the voices of people who were let out of Prop 47 because they felt like they were just kind of dismantled because there was no already resources in place. So we need to start building resources for the ones that are now going to continue to come out so they don't feel displaced as well. So I speak today as an educate, as a student, and I speak as a community member. Thank you.
Thank you. Very powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Marie Morales.
Thank you. Thank you. Get some more folks.
That's on? Okay, great. Pastor Terrell Fletcher, Derek Stotts, Beth Herman, Ricky Lechuga, and Beto Vasquez. Please come up.
All right, so good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out today. My name is Beto Vasquez. I wear a couple of different hats. So first of all, I'm here as a representative for Councilmember Alvarez for District 8 here in the city of San Diego. We oversee basically some of the more underserved communities here in San Diego, and would love to see that these monies be put to good use, to be able to assist those that have been, Maria mentioned earlier that were just kind of thrown out in order to alleviate the burden on the state. It's really unfair on the communities, and we really want to see that these monies be put to good use in those communities to be able to help rehabilitate these individuals. On another note, I also am with San Diego City College, and this is, education was the place that basically changed the trajectory of my life. I too was incarcerated for most of my 20s. Never in my life thought I was going to attend college or that I was going to be clean and sober, So all that was possible through a couple of different assembly bills that were around like in 2007, 2008. I graduated with a program in Chula Vista through the Nosotros program. Programs like that are needed. They need to be funded. One of the main issues that individuals like myself face when they get out is we've burned all the bridges we had. We have nowhere to stay. The only places we know where to stay are not the most suitable or nice places for that are going to be conducive to our well-being. And so I think housing is definitely an issue. I think being able to bring all the folks to the table, create collaborations in individual cities, but I'm learning that for the most part it's often pretty hard. So I think making that part of the RFP requirement is would be huge. Because otherwise you're going to have folks that just want to kind of look for themselves, and that's just more on a personal note. But I am extremely interested in just making sure that we cover all the different facets that individuals are having to deal with, and the points that the other speakers before me had mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Beth Herman, and I'm here to represent A New Path, which is Parents for Addiction Treatment and Healing. I'm not a parent. I do not have addiction in my family. However, I do have mental health issues, and I think it's very important for people who have been incarcerated, who have been in the SHU, who have had God knows what has happened to them while they're in jail, get the training, the job training that they need, as well as mental health and substance use.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ricky Lechuga. I'm here to represent myself, and I'm also a member of NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness. Thank you. Basically, I was not even prepared to do a speech in here. I was just here as a spectator. I just wanted to see what everybody was talking about. But since I put my name in there, well, I'm here now. So basically, I want to say that this proposition is very important, and for me, and the reason why is because my son is one of the reasons I'm here. My son is a bipolar, and he's in jail, and he's been out of jail 3 times already, and it is hard for me and my family to help him, because there's not programs out there available for him when he gets out. he gets on probation and a person is with mentally illness, he does not follow his probation. And before you know it, he gets a warrant for his arrest. That's suspected. When people are mentally ill, they do not comprehend consequences. They just don't, especially if they stop taking their medications. One of the problems with my son is he uses drugs. A mentally ill patient or person who uses drugs is in more danger to himself, well, is in danger of getting in trouble with the police, basically. They do so many things. These are good people getting in trouble. These are good people doing the wrong things at the wrong time. My son is not a bad person. He's a good kid. But whenever he started using drugs available to him, and now he's paying for it. But the thing is that the programs are out there right now. They're not available for what is called the dual diagnose programs. There are not that many programs available for those people. And that's one of the key things that we need, I want to say that we need available for them. The prevention, hopefully I can say a couple of things. Preventing these kids to go into jail, that's the key thing. And we can all start from helping the schools get educated by preventing them from using the drugs, talking to kids about drugs as much as possible. The police can always do more in that aspect. And the thing is that with the legalizing marijuana and everything else, they think that this is funny, but it's not. I mean, kids are getting right now what is called spice. And I watch the news, and I see that some people cannot afford marijuana. They're getting the spice, and they're getting shot in the brain, basically, because, yeah. So basically, the drugs out there need to get across in schools, preventing the kids from using the drugs, not just in general. This is especially for the mentally ill, and also in the jail program. Not long ago, I spoke to Pete Fischetti, which is a psychiatrist at the Central Jail, and he said to me, I told him why this gentleman that was in the mentally department, he committed suicide. Okay, and he committed suicide here in San Diego, and that's because of the programs are in jail. They're not being prepared to have the ways to prevent people from committing suicide even in the jail. So there's a lot of things that can be done, especially here, and prevent help. And not only that, but the police department needs to be prepared to know how to deal with mentally ill patients out there. Because anytime there's a mentally ill person out there, they don't know, and all of a sudden they reach, oh, I thought he was gonna pull a gun, and there you go. There's a lot of mentally ill people out there, and the police department need help with getting prepared for this kind of situations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to call several more names. Mr. Ferris, the organization is SDOP, and I'm not able to quite make out the first name. Ryan Rising, Farsi Jackson, Tasha Williamson, and Robert Aldous Harris. If you would please come forward to the microphone. Whoever's there can please begin. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Newt Ferris, and I'm a retired social worker and volunteer with the San Diego Organizing Project, which is a group of about 30 churches in our county that try to help the community be a better place. There are many things that have been said that I thought were of value. I would like you to I'm concerned that I'm speaking to the choir, but know that 50+ grand per person in prison can provide a lot of funding from mental health services and mental health staff. It's a lot cheaper to serve people in the community than it is in the clinic. The other thing that I hope you would consider, I don't think they're doing it here in San Diego County right now, but there's a program in Utah, not the only one, but that's one, where they provide housing to the homeless and a social worker to make sure they make the various appointments. And they've cut the cost of the homeless person per annum from more or less 40 grand a year to 17. I think it might be worth considering if you get any grant applications that have to do with that, because we have far too long been focusing on locking people up. And as you've heard, with all the recidivism and so on, people's lives get ruined. You know, I work at a food bank once a week as a volunteer. I see people in their 30s and I say, oh, you're not working right now? Oh no, I'm an ex-felon, I can't get a job. You know, they're 35 years old. So, pretty hard to stay straight if you can't get a job for the next 30 years of your life. So, thank you.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? Ryan Rising, representing Underground Scholars Initiative out of City College. Recently released from New Folsom State Prison, August 12th of last year. The counselors up there did nothing for me. They shot me, they asked me if I had an address. I didn't have an address, so they put me down as transient. They gave me $200 at the gate, shot me to your guys' Greyhound station right here downtown. You look to the right, all you see is homeless tents. All right, now I'm transient, so I don't have an address to go to. So you look to the left and you go and you find every drug in the road. I had to spend $91 of my $200 gate fee to get there. So I only had $109 by the time I got there. I ended up at City College. I talked to my pro officer. He put me in a program, Nosotros, and then Nosotros was a little confined for what I was trying to do with my goals. I honestly believe that we need to start investing into education. We need to have colleges within the San Diego area step up and offer a general education plan, an associate's degree to Donovan. We got 3 major prisons right here, and not one college has stepped up to offer the general education associate's degree to these inmates that are in there, and then offer them a way to transfer out to that program out here and finish it up when they get released. There's a lot of inmates coming. We're all getting out, you know what I'm saying? Like the 3 stripes is changing. You got the juvenile thing just changed. So you got guys that are coming out at 35 years old that don't know what to do, and we can't go into Job Corps anymore. You know what I'm saying? We need to invest in some sort of program that offers trade schools, that offers, you know what I'm saying, that offers us life skills. And we need to have some sort of like pre-release. You know what I'm saying? We're just thrown out. We're just thrown out. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I didn't know where I was going to live, you know, and it was up to me to make it or just go back to my cell where I was comfortable at, because that's where I spent all my 20s. I'm 32 years old now. I'm trying to get my degree. I'm trying to do things with my life, but you know, I'm handicapped. I'm getting kicked out of my sober living because they only offer 5 months for me. So I'm faced in a month to be back on the streets. You know, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I turn to? Well, they already gave me my funding for the 5 months. So we need housing. You know, I'm doing things. I'm going for my associate's degree. You know, like all I need is like we need to invest in us that are doing well, and we need to actually build like we're building USI. We're trying to reach out to guys coming out, and we're trying to build them up. Like, hey, we're here for you. We're a brotherhood now. Let's help each other out. Let's help the sisters that are coming down and the brothers that are coming out. And hey, I'm doing it. I'm getting good grades. Hey, I can help you out in math. And that's what we're trying to develop here at City College with USI. And I believe it's so necessary. It's the homeless population is extreme out here in San Diego. And I bet you if you ran out there and you asked a lot of them, most of them were formerly incarcerated people that have nowhere to go. And now they're sleeping on your guys' sidewalks downtown here. So it's huge, you know. So I believe that's a huge thing that needs to happen.
Thank you, great. Just to add a little hope to the issues you raised about community college, the co-chair, Scott Budnick, sits on the community college board.
Yeah, I was just texting him last night.
Text him again. Text him again. Tell him about your problem in a month. He's very resourceful. All right. All right.
Hi, I'm Perry C. Jackson, and I don't know if I even belong in this group. My son,
you belong.
Never been incarcerated. He's a paranoid schizophrenic. And right now I have him in my home taking care of him because nobody else will. He's been sick for 45 years. He just turned 65. Every time he's been, well, now he's to the point they can't put him in board care because he walks away. And usually gets hit by a vehicle, ends up in the hospital, and that's where he lands on me, because they can't, nobody will take him. I belong to the mentally ill organization also. I heard Supervisor Robert say, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, right now they have no place to put a mentally ill person coming out of the hospitals. They're trying to put something in Escondido, but my son can't take care of himself. He can't be just put in a house. Somebody has to cook for him, wash for him, give him his medicine, change his diaper. Because he's gradually gotten worse. Since he was hit by a car the last time, a year ago, he's gotten a lot worse. So I'm just, anybody can help, please. We need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Hello, thank you. My name is Tasha Williamson. I'm here as a community representative. What I see is failed systems keep giving control to failed systems. Law enforcement, probation, DA, all oppose this Prop 47. What this says to me is that the only folks good enough to lead this is government contributors to failed systems. This fails to see community as valuable to fix systems brokenness in a leadership role with the grant requirements and the representation of this board. Service models need to be working to rehabilitate from the inside to transition with the folks on the outside so that those people re-entering into community with plans and social services needs in place. You are not credible to speak or make decisions on behalf of Prop 47 folks when over half of your board is against Prop 47. There is no vested interest in mental health with people from this population or even involved in getting the services to the people. Many of the mental health service providers are afraid of the population that you were talking about, so they don't provide services that meet the people's needs. The people have to come to the service providers.
Thank you.
Before the next speaker, I'm just going to call several more names, please. Denise Childs, Paul Stevens, Gretchen Burns-Birdman, Ferchel Ramos, Donald Stuck, Lauren Alexander, and Margaret Dooley Samuli. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. My name is Terrell Fletcher. I'm the senior pastor of the City of Hope International Church. I represent a host of wonderful community members as well as the members of our church. I agree so much with what I heard the young lady say that came before me, because most of us agree to support this law because we viewed it as a way for our tax dollars to be used not to support the vicious cycle of incarceration, mass incarceration, but so that it could present to us and give us an opportunity to contribute to the healing of our own communities. And as a community, we feel that that we should be involved in the say-so for how this money is being spent and the direction that it is going. We understand that this is critical. It's not just about California. California leads our country in so many ways, and how you choose to spend this money will almost be a blueprint for the way other nations, rather, and other states, rather, decide to use this. And we hope that you guys will take this into heavy consideration while you're listening to the community and their needs. Our ask is simple. We have a threefold ask. It's really simple. It's first, we ask that you would create ways to use this money to empower community organizations to be involved in the solutions of our ills, and not to use the money to create social jails. That's A. The second thing is that we ask for an open and transparent process. So a process where we don't have to try to figure out where it's going and how it's going, but it's open, it's transparent, and we're able to dialogue and communicate about the use of this money. And also, we also feel that it's critical that formerly incarcerated people are brought to an advisory board and are allowed to have say-so in how the rehabilitation and how this money is being spent as well. We are a community of great people. We're a community of people that have made certain mistakes, but also feel that we are afforded second chances. This is America, this is a great country, and let us be involved in our own solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Alex Harris. I'm a gentleman that stands before you with lived experience, institutionally speaking. And, out the years, I've become more determined in my life not to become or stay stuck in the problem, to become more internally entrenched in the solutions. Tonight, we're listening to a lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of shame, a lot of suffering. But the one thing for me that's most important is that individuals that have the intrinsic need to be involved in this particular stage of reformation, that it's important for you as a committee to bring into context what the real desire is of individuals. When you talked about individuals that I saw that were incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, that are out here making a difference with the various organizations that are out here. See, this is what's really needed, is you need a voice from inside, not outside, okay? You talk about what needs to happen with the money. What you really need to find out is through the grassroots organizations that are out here doing the work, what do their clients have to say about what's going on? What are the transitional stages that are affecting them in their lives? And then if you really want to sit down at the end of the day and talk about, dotting your I's and crossing your T's, then assembling that type of group, as a target base inset committee for reviewing some of the things that you're talking about, because I don't know how many of you actually that are sitting there have been incarcerated, with the exception of having incarcerated individuals much like myself. I'm an individual that stands before you that, since the age of 11 years old, was committed to the California Youth Authority. Did I have a decision in that? Or did I even know what crossroads that I was facing at that age? We're talking elementary school, 5th grade. For incorrigibility, that was back in the time when they really didn't know where they were going. Look at where we're at today. They're beginning to release individuals, but how are they doing it today? They're doing it in such a fashion is that, what? There's a mantra that I operate by. You can't fix a thing with the same mind that got you in it. That's right. Doing the same thing over and over again is only expecting the same result that you've been getting. Okay, so I really impress upon you that individuals like myself are allowed the opportunity to meet with you, in the steering committee process, and to be able to do business with you, and at some point, transparency. Mr. Terrell said, we got to open up the door. If you really want to assist these people, then make yourself available in the most unfashionable way. Take your ties off, take your suits, coats off, and let's get down to business.
Mr. Harris, right? I really appreciate your remarks. I think you're right on. My husband at 16 was also in California Youth Authority. His last completed grade of education was the 6th grade, and he ended up on state parole at 17. And by all intents and purposes, he shouldn't be here today. He should be in custody, or he should be dead. And at 21, he joined the local junior college, to your point, Mr. Rising, and as a functional illiterate. So while he was born in the U.S. and English was his only language, he had to take grammar courses as if English was his second language. He was so behind, so illiterate in the most basic ways. He is, in this semester, in his last actual coursework of a PhD at Claremont in Southern California, and he is doing so with a 3.95 GPA. And I think of probably the perspective that has shaped my view the most has been what I have seen my husband go through, all the big things, but the little things. His inherent fear of law enforcement, his inherent fear that everything could be taken away at any moment, his inherent fear that his behavior will be interpreted a certain way over others. even when he has remarkable achievements in his life. And that is not the fault of any particular law enforcement per se. That has been his socialization process. That is how he has come to see himself vis-a-vis the world. And he has been very blessed to have junior college professors, ministers who have reached out to him, community-based organizations that have loved him, that as he says in our particular faith tradition, chose to see Christ in him. That is, our personal story. And it's a beautiful one. But certainly it is one in which I live with every day, which I'll live with for the rest of my life, clearly. But I'm very proud of my husband, and I know of the remarkable potential that exists in all people, in particular when you're given opportunities to shine. And so I appreciate, the courage by which you have to come here and share. And I believe, like you, all perspectives need to be at the table.
Credibility. Thank you so much for being candid. I want, emancipated at 17 years old from California Youth Authority, but my life wasn't over. It was just beginning. I was a man. I was a man child. I was a child that thought he was a man. And there was no man there to raise me. So as I went through life, disregarding, my mother's instruction, I started to become more, connected to what was going on in my community. I'm San Diego native. I'm standing before you. There's not very many people in here that can tell you about San Diego like I can tell you about San Diego. Okay, but there is one thing that I learned at some stage of my life, regardless of as many times as I failed, is that it's about having completion in the things that you choose to step forward into. And removing the stigma of fear is so important. When you're coming out of the system and you've got $200 in your pocket, maybe, depending on whether you're delivered or not, that's not a conduit for success. It is not a transitional measure, And so the individuals that I'm involved with in my city, I believe that it is community. It is about building wealth. The individuals that I'm in tow with, they serve as mentors to me. These are people that in the reflections of what they do, I emulate because I see progress in the things that they do, and they share with me positively. I benefited from the ability to benefit from a community college program. There's some people in here I recognize that were on campus with me, and I successfully have completed ASAA and is working towards my master's as well. But I'm just one. That's infinitesimal. It's like, what are we gonna really do at the end of the day? When individuals like myself, in a unique opportunity as this, to be able to come to the table and be able to help out and foster inroads for community wealth that need to be built. Money is one thing, but with me at the end of the day, and I have a man that I'm not going to put him out there like that, but he means so much to me. At the end of the day, what are we doing to impact the children of these men, women, uncles, brothers, siblings, loved ones that are caught up in the system? We just heard an intergenerational delivery here, a grandmother that was speaking out in dire need. Thank you for letting me share.
Mr. Harris, I hope you find your way to our website and press the button that says you're interested in participating. That's just a...
Hello, I want to thank the board and the community from which I derive, San Diego, for being here. I want to introduce myself. My name is Dennis Childs. I'm a professor at the University of California, San Diego, in the Department of Literature. I'm also the faculty advisor for Students Against Mass Incarceration. I'm also a member of All of Us or None, that is represented in the room, a group of formerly incarcerated and their supporters working for things like the Ban the Box initiative that was finally passed in California. And I just want to say the community organizations and their representatives in the room have said a lot, and in their expertise say it in a much more profound and grounded way than I can as an academic. My most proud institutional affiliation in terms of education in San Diego is being a graduate of Hoover High School in City Heights. And I have to say that one of the things that pains me about that affiliation also is the fact that I'm the exception and the token. Being with a PhD, teaching at UCSD, my local campus, and sitting in La Jolla, and being in front of a room this big or bigger and looking out into the faces and knowing that a child in my community of City Heights or Southeast or Barrio Logan or all these communities have a better chance to end up in a shoe cage than in my classroom. And what the sister said earlier about this board, with all due respect, Ms. Howard, you said this money has nothing to do with the money for jail construction, but it's my understanding that this board had something to do with the passage of a $2 billion jail construction bill, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about that. So if that's the case, then we can't play too loose of a kind of shell game and say, oh, they have nothing to do with each other, when you're the board that had something to do with both. That $2 billion largely outweighs the 28-something million that you put up on the screen. Please let me. So priorities and all that, all the conversation about recidivism and addiction, I want to talk about an elephant in the living room here. There's another addiction and another recidivism that hasn't been named, or has been named, but not as directly as I'm going to name it. It's called the prison industrial complex. There are billions of dollars being made by turning our community members into basically human commodities, starting from the time that they're 9 and 11 years old. So when you're here talking about how we're going to use the money, at the same time that you're overseeing another construction contract to the tune of billions, under the rubric of somehow making them into kinder and gentler healthcare, or someone said social incarceration institutions, in the context of a federal receivership over our entire system, because one prisoner was dying every 6 or 7 days from treatable illness or suicide as of 2009 in California. The prison system of California is the biggest healthcare provider in the state. With all due respect, you said that state people in county and state positions can bid for this money. For me, that sounds like possibly law enforcement could be bidding for this money to do these kinder and gentler jails. Excuse me, that's not going to lead to anybody's mental health. More jails and more prisons don't do that. I do hear the brother that talks about associates programs and BAs for people that are in jails and prisons, and we need to do that. UCSD needs to step up to the plate for that, but we need our youth not to be there in the first place. So all of us are none that's in the room. Anybody that's informally incarcerated in here needs to go talk to Reverend Dennis Malone. I've been working with this man for years, and I have to say again, that we're in a city that has a lowering crime rate at the same time that the district attorney did this thing out of some sort of science fiction novel called the Operation Lemon Drop. Many people in this community know about that, but if you don't know about that, you need to look it up, because there's a scare tactic. The individuals that have been up here that are formerly incarcerated and their loved ones have been talking about addiction and all of these things, but those that are making money off their addiction to locking us up have been using scare tactics. They've been saying that that the people that are getting let out are the worst of the worst. There's going to be this crime binge. 80%, Margaret Dooley-Samuli will speak on this more clearly, 80% of the people eligible to have their sentences reconsidered are in for petty drug possession. So let's be real about that. But the addiction to locking people up as a way to make people's livelihoods is something that needs to enter into this conversation. I agree that the people that led to this problem cannot solve it. That Operation Lemon Drop, where they were trolling the trolley station in Lemon Grove because they knew that Prop 47 people were living in that neighborhood. I heard over 60,000 people were shaken down in that operation because those people that are addicted recidivists to destroying our communities and our families, they will not let go of that gravy train easily. But I know that this community will no longer stand for this type of situation. They said they were going to prevent crimes by the people that got let out on 47 before they happened. That was the rationale. So let's be real about this recidivist problem. And that is the addiction to locking up our children and our families above educating, housing, and giving them fair employment. That's what's going on here.
Thank you for listening to the concerns of our community. We do appreciate I'm Gretchen Burns-Bergman. I'm the co-founder, executive director of A New Path that stands for Parents for Addiction Treatment and Healing. We advocate for therapeutic rather than punitive drug policies. I'm representing hundreds of families in this community as well as more across the state. And we worked hard to pass Proposition 47 along with a lot of other organizations in this room and across the state. So you're going to hear a lot of passion from some of us about Prop 47. And we're very concerned about where the savings from Prop 47, where that's going to go. And of course, we want that to come into our community, into treatment and rehabilitation, and services for mental illness, services for addictive illness, and transitional service. We want that to be in the community, not in jails. We have a dire need for resources in our community. We have long lines for detox, for treatment. We have an overdose epidemic that is out of control, not just in our community, across the state and across the nation. But we don't, unfortunately, we've been spending the money putting people behind bars. They are going to be coming back in the community, as this gentleman said, but they're going to be coming back to a community that doesn't have the resources that they need to successfully reintegrate into the community. So we passionately feel that these resources need to come here for transitional services, for treatment, for substance use disorders, for services for the mentally ill. And also, I think we feel that it's very important that on your advisory committee, there are people in our community who are dealing directly with these problems, who, like I, have children who have addictive illness, who understand what they need, the gaps that they need filled in the community. So I beg you to fill that committee with people from the community who can tell you what our needs are, where we need those dollars to go, what's effective for our population. So thank you so much for listening to our concerns.
My name is Paul Stevens. I have an associate's degree in behavioral science, a bachelor's degree in human services, and I'm in the last semester of a master's program in rehabilitation counseling with a emphasis in clinical counseling, which should lead to my licensing, LPCC, next year. However, what's been driving my future is the Paul Stevens E84411. That spent 16 months in prison twice, 2 years in prison twice, 3 years in prison twice, 5-year sentence, lifelong installment plan, like one of the young ladies said, 3 parole violations, and that's not counting my counting time. So what I'm here to ask about some of the funding priorities is, as it's been said before, I know that for individuals with mental illness, there's a thing called lived experience, and it's valued, and there's a certification process to bring them into the treatment process of individuals with mental illness also, and that there be some type of process for individuals with incarceration records. I've been waiting 5 months for clearance from community care licensing. Fortunately, the organization that wishes to hire me has continued to extend the offer letter. I know friends who have lost supervisor and managerial positions because of their prison record through the Homeland Security type deal. But also that we start looking at some of the policies, maybe a committee that could examine county, city, state policies about hiring individuals with records in contractors. I know subcontractors have let me know that due to their county contract, they were not allowed to hire individuals with certain types of no criminal background. I have no strikable offenses, no sexual or violent offenses, all substance use disorder related, that has prevented me from gaining positions that I would have I feel I would have been of a great service to the individuals being served. Instead, in the programs that I've worked at, and I've heard this said before also, I've seen individuals who have no empathy, no concern for the individuals that they're dealing with. Matter of fact, they're scared. They've admitted to me, I'm scared of working with this population. I'm doing it because I need a job. So hopefully this process can be investigated and initiated so that we get individuals who do care genuinely about this population and seeing them gain their rightful place back in society. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, first of all, thank you for coming out. My name is Fercho Ramos. I am here with ACLU of San Diego in Rio County. I'm also here as a member of RISE San Diego, which is an Urban Fellows program, which I'm proud to be one of the fellows this year. I also represent, I'm the executive director for the Filipino American Arts and Cultural Festival, and I am a proud member. I was raised in Southeast San Diego, graduate of Morse. So basically what I'm saying is, I even had family members, my brother, he's had substance abuse issues in the past, and was locked up for which would be considered, he actually had his record expunged. I don't really talk about this a lot or often, because there's this feeling of guilt and or shame just to even try to get assimilated back into the community. So you mentioned that a lot of these programs, you kind of hinted that these organizations should team up all together and try and go after the Prop 47 money all at the same time. But at the same, there's so many organizations just in this room alone. I don't know, like I kind of worry about how we're all gonna team up, and then next thing you know, it's already gonna be year 3 before we get all on the same page. So how are you gonna address like what kind of groups get the funding? And I don't know, I can't, if there weren't these programs out there that my brother was able to get a hold of, I feel that I can't even speak about it right now because I'm not used to speaking about that. I feel that the Prop 47 money should go to these programs, but I worry about how it's going to be distributed if we're all going to be fighting amongst ourselves.
Hello, my name is Lauren Alexander. I work with the ACLU of San Diego as well, but more than anything, I'm here as a young Black woman who has spent her career collecting the stories of those people who have been entangled in our criminal justice system. And my feelings are super personal because I have watched the collateral consequences of our culture of mass incarceration basically wreak havoc on communities of color. And I'm so proud and I'm so happy that this conversation is happening today, that you guys are listening to the communities, not only here, but around SoCal. But it concerns me because when you say that the emphasis is going to be put on these public organizations that are already in practice, the fact of the matter is, as Ferch mentioned, as other people have mentioned when they came up here to speak, there are gaps. Putting it lightly, there are gaps in where people are able to access those things, and the community organizations, the grassroots organizations that are in the community and doing the work on shoestring budgets, they are the ones that know where those gaps are. And unless you guys put equal emphasis in this competitive grant process on those organizations, put the onus on them for once. To say, no, you have to partner. You need to be somewhat connected, because I'll tell you right now, the people that are coming out of the criminal justice system, they don't trust the public organizations. Their only interaction with them have been largely negative. That's right. So you can't expect them to then tap into those organizations alone. You need the cultural competency that the grassroots organizations represent. And I hope you'll hear that today. Good
evening. I'm the third and I think last
ACLU crew. My name is Margaret Dooley Samueli. I'm with the ACLU of California. And you've heard a lot of passionate testimony here about this. The scale of the need, it is just so great. And Prop 47 savings, whether it's 19 million or 190 million, is going to be limited in the face of such need. So one thing we wanted to highlight was to encourage you, as I think AB 1056 already does, to prioritize grants that identify gaps in services and that leverage other funding streams, from Medi-Cal to private insurance to the realignment dollars. We would also encourage you to be thinking about what can you do through this competitive process to encourage counties to get away from this, I think, counterproductive sense that realignment dollars and programs funded by them exclude misdemeanors. So that a lot of people who were realignment folks before, those programs are not offered to misdemeanors, or they're not thought about in the same way that our programs are for people facing felonies, but there's no reason not to have them also, or new programs be made available specifically for misdemeanors. It's the same people, the same problems. We need new approaches to that, and that's what voters asked for with Prop 47. So we just encourage you to think, what ways can you encourage counties and entities to be innovative, but specifically to make sure that they are bringing as many resources together to address those gaps like case management, housing first, and most importantly, to not replace funding, but to add to it. Thank you.
I'm going to call up several more names. Claudia Henderson, Claudia Kaywood, I may not have that right, from Operation Hope, Anita Fisher, Jerry Ibarra, Armando Tellis, and more. Aaron Wooten. Thank you.
Hi.
Oh, excuse me. When you do hear the bell, I think we're having a little bit of difficulty with our speakers hearing the timer. Mary now has a microphone on the timer, so when you hear that little kind of stutter bell sound, that's the 2 minutes. We're really, really pleased to have so many people here, and we need to try to ask you to hold to the 2 minutes so we can hear from everybody. Thank you so much.
My name is Claudia, and I'm here on behalf of families.
Claudia, you're going to have to get that just a little closer.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, my name is Claudia. Is that better? And I am here on behalf of the families that have loved ones in prison that have mental illness. I have a son with a mental illness who has been in prison for 20 years, and someday he will be coming home, and it worries me if I will be able to find programs to help him adapt back into society. He is institutionalized, and a lot has changed in the outside world. It's going to be very hard for my son. For my son and many others, it will be a tough journey back to the real world. They have been taught how to live and survive in a tough environment. To them, this is a way of life. They will be coming out of prison, out of their comfort zone, into the unknown. They will be afraid, apprehensive. They will not know how to act, and because of this, many may go back to prison just so they will be back in a familiar place. We need extensive programs to help these individuals transition back into society so that they can be productive citizens and get back to their community, not become discouraged and go back to prison. And by them staying out of prison, they save in the states lots of money.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Claudia.
We have a little buzzing. Do you check it out?
Let me see if I can.
Good evening. I'm Claudia Kaywood, and I'm here for two different reasons. I'm here to talk a little bit about my concerns with the school to prison pipeline. I have a 24-year-old son, and he suffers from ADHD, which is a disability. And I really believe that he was pushed out of the school system because of his disability. I don't believe he had enough resources or supportive services to support him. And so I think that that's one of the problems, a fundamental problem with juveniles and with young children, is that I feel that, you know, they're not being addressed. Certain issues, I feel like they're getting pushed out of school systems. And unfortunately for him, he ended up in juvenile hall, and he's been in and out of prison, or not prison, I'm sorry, jail. So that was one of my concerns. And the other thing is that I represent a financial literacy program called Operation Hope, and we are a nationwide service. And I just wanted to make you aware of our services to where we can support people coming out of prison or jail that have little knowledge of how to, you know, deal with their finances. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that and introduce that program.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Anita Fisher, and I represent my son, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and the many family members of individuals living with mental illness who have ended up in the criminal justice system. For the last 8 years, I have facilitated a support group for families who have a loved one in jail and prison. And many of us have the same story over and over again, that upon release, they're not connected to services, they're dropped off at a trolley stop, and then we don't even know where they are, you know, for several days until they end up back in jail, and we're on finding them again on the Who's in Jail link. So we really need services that will provide a connection to services before they leave the jail and prison. So someone that they meet, you know, prior to release, and then when they get out, they know what community-based program that they're going to be connected with. Someone to even pick them up and connect them. They oftentimes can't be handed a piece of paper and told to report here or go there, when, especially if they're very symptomatic at the time of release. So we're asking that you include people from the community, the people who are affected by mental illness and who can tell you again where the gaps are, their family members, and that the funding goes towards those community-based organizations, especially those with strong peer and family presence. So thank you for letting us speak today.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Guevara, and I'm from Orange County, California. On April 10, 2010, I was thrown out of my gastroenterologist doctor's office because I could not seek help for my hepatitis C virus. He told me that I needed to get counseling. I was under the AB 109, and I was unable to get counseling. That evening, I was arrested. To get me out of his office, he wrote me a prescription to see a psychiatrist. I had that in my pocket when I got pulled over, and I was not under the influence. But the police officer threw me to the ground and arrested me anyway. When they took me to jail, they found the prescription in my pocket, and I was housed in the mental health ward. At that time, I realized that there was probably a little bit more going on with me. Because of that, I was sent to an SNY yard because I was unable to go to the general population. And I had to make a decision at that time what I wanted to do. And I really started to see a difference, that I was getting treatment for something that my culture kind of looks down at, it's a stigma. And I realized at that point that I had to go forward. On December 2011, I took my last ride home from Wasco, and I got involved in a paralegal program. And since then I've have a master's in addiction counseling, and I work full time in a drug and treatment center. So I'm here to speak on behalf of all those who are the minority among the minority, and those are the people with the stigma of mental health, and also those in the LGBT community, the Vietnamese community, who have high rates of mental health issues and don't have a voice. Also, I'm also very concerned with people coming off of these SNY yards, and them being afraid to go into just regular community centers to seek help. A few things that I wanted to just kind of point out is, one, this is the year of Kiss the Convict. As many politicians in the past have kissed babies, everybody wants to grab a convict and kiss them. This is what I tell people when I go to the federal prison and I do motivational speaking. What has changed? Things have changed. Second thing I want to make sure is that whatever those funds go to, that the narrative on the grants and the request for proposals, that we go deeper and we really look at the systematic way that they do hiring and ban the box. That if they're not really supporting the full re-entry vision and spirit of Prop 47, then they should not be allowed to apply for this grant. And it's not just for the grants. So finally, I want to just make sure that all the different things are included, the harm reduction, smart recovery, and that we look at community corrections in full and comprehensive way. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Elizar Sanchez. I'm here with the community group ACE, the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. I'm also a product of San Diego City College. And tonight, along with my fellow community members, I appreciate the opportunity of the BSCC to hear from the public to decide how funding can be spent. As a family member of someone who has been touched by the criminal justice systems, I believe that spending more money in the jail is not the answer. And I encourage you to spend the Proposition 47 savings in our communities. Proposition 47 savings should be spent to support re-entry programs and to help prevent people from becoming part of the criminal justice system, especially our youth. We also strongly believe that those in Proposition 47's advisory committee should be made up of community members and experts that know about mental health. They know about addictions and the issues of housing, and most importantly, people who know about these issues firsthand and have been directly affected. I can almost guarantee that by doing so, no jails will be needed anymore. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and community members. My name is Armando Tejas, and I want to thank you for being here today. And it is with appreciation, too, that Prop 47 is also required to partner with a community agency to provide these services to local San Diego. I recommend that Mental Health America of San Diego County is that community nonprofit organization that is the primary organization that is partnered with the local agency to ensure that services are not only invested in the communities of San Diego County as a whole, but more specifically directly at the young men that we service that are currently incarcerated. Young fathers that are ages between 16 and 25 years old, we provide services for as they transition and exit incarceration. And upon that transition of incarceration, Second Chance Father-to-Child Mentoring with Mental Health America of San Diego County also provides the parenting, training, and development and coaching they're going to need to be effective in reestablishing fathers with their children. This program also provides services for the mothers, including to ensure that there's a healthy dynamic between these young fathers that have been absent, if not non-existent, in a child's life, but yet are participant in this program to ensure that they are not only rehabilitating themselves and transitioning into a productive life of citizenship in San Diego, but more so that they develop the training and educational skills they're going to need to be successful fathers as well, examples for their parents. By investing in Mental Health America of San Diego County as the nonprofit organization that is identified as a primary partner for the agency that is selected to also support with the resources, individuals that are present here today can be assured that this Prop 47 money is going to benefit all of San Diego as well as surrounding areas. This way, individuals like Ryan Reason, whose homies are coming out of the hood, who are coming out of incarceration, if they had started at a younger age in their life of crime, but yet also became fathers, this is a program that could have also intervened with that path in life that they ended up being currently. This kind of program also ensures that individuals like the Professor President, Dennis Child, who is concerned about the stigma of the police department being involved in Prop 47 money, and it allows our participants, like the officer who stopped them recently, to know that we exist. Mental Health America is led by Daphne Watson, who is a proven leader in this community that, as a recipient, Mental Health America of San Diego County with the Second Chance Father-to-Child program can ensure Prop 47 money is invested in San Diego. Thank you.
Call up several more names. John Flores, David F.Z., the Reverend Dennis Malone, Eleazar Sanchez, and Tom Cartwright.
Hello, how you doing? My name is John Flores, and I represent the Emory Foundation of California. We are a residential teaching and therapeutic community that address substance use disorders and also deal with core issues that have led to substance abuse disorders as well. I can say personally, right, coming from the clinical supervision aspect of me working at the foundation that I work with, to say, hey, you know what, fund us, but I'm not going to come from that position. I'm going to come from the position of somebody that had a 17-year addiction to methamphetamine, somebody that was a two-striker, somebody that has been detained by some of the officers in this room, which I recognize. You know, so I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I can speak from education. Education is a wonderful thing. You know, employment is a wonderful thing. Okay, education gave me the letters next to my name. Employment is what, you know, keeps my house, keeps my car, you know, keeps my wife happy, right? The money that comes from employment. But I wouldn't have all those things without the treatment part. You know, without the part of learning how to deal with life, learning how to deal with emotions, learning how to deal with the traumas that I endured as a child, as an adolescent, and even to some extent as an adult. And I want to come from that position, you know, because without the treatment aspect of things start to fall apart. One of the things I like to really ask my students, because we call them students, because we're a campus, we're a school for moral development and emotional literacy, is I ask them, okay, have you ever had a job? Yes, I have. Okay, what happened? Okay, well, you know, something happened at the home I didn't know how to deal with, something happened at work I didn't know how to deal with, it was, you know, a death in the family, et cetera, et cetera. And they kind of fall off the wayside and go back to using. One of the things that I think is missing is access to drug treatment on demand. Okay, under the umbrella of CDC, under the umbrella of probation, you can receive some services. You can receive 90 days of treatment, you can receive 6 months of treatment, you can receive maybe even a year of treatment. However, some of that is just treatment readiness. And I think we need to extend some of that treatment for longer than 60 days, longer than 6 months, and even sometimes longer than a year. Also, in regards to the deadlines for government agencies to get the money to the community, so it doesn't get stuck somewhere. And I think we need to have those deadlines in place. And people say, hey, you know what, we're going to have the money, we're going to give the money to these agencies, and it just never, you know, goes out in time. I also want to applaud the voice of the formerly incarcerated that is going to be on the ESC panel, because I think it's really important for individuals just like myself who have came up and have changed their lives to actually, you know, have a voice for everybody that doesn't have a voice. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Reverend Dennis Malone, and I'm here representing all of us in San Diego, as well as a new path. I've heard a lot of interesting stories this evening, and all of them seem to touch me because they all seem to fit into my little shoebox. Like my man said, I missed my 20s as well, growing up. And I was released from Donovan in 1991. What makes my story kind of unique is that since 1991, I've been working in social services. And in doing so, I've come to realize that there's a lot of waste in social services. There's a lot of money that's earmarked for the programs, but the people are really not getting services. I found also that upon seeking employment, David, I don't know you, where are you from? San Diego, probably. That's right. Okay. As far as employment goes, all of us realize that in order for us to obtain employment, we had to change the policies. When we had to change the policies, we had to organize. And I suggest that everyone in this room figure out a way to network with each and every one that's here and continue that process. Nobody's gonna come in here on a white horse and save you that. It's not gonna happen. You know, it's not gonna happen. But we can do it among ourselves. So I really appreciate having this forum to speak to masses of folks who are doing the work, but seeing little results. I think together you can see big results. So we have our meetings every Tuesday at Malcolm X Library, second Tuesday. And you all are welcome to come out, Malcolm X, and we discussed the details on how we could work together. We did a demonstration at Donovan State Prison. Was it 2 years ago, didn't it? Yeah. And we tried to stop the new construction. It's been well funded out there. And it didn't happen, you know, the building's going up now. But I say that to say this, at the same time, prior to that, I was working inside Donovan as a reentry counselor. We started a reentry program called Project New Start. 80% success rate. We were placing folks in jobs and housing before they touched down. Before they were released, they had the job opportunity, they had the housing, and the wraparound services were coming available. 80% success rate. That program was gutted, it was cut, it was not funded for the next year. But instead, they built a new facility. The mindset of the people in California, we together, all of us together, it's all of us or none. There's not no division here with us over here. We all have to work together come with a positive solution to a situation that's destroying our community. My whole block where I was raised in Southeast San Diego, 32nd Street, the Crip area of San Diego. I'm a former Crip. All my peers are locked up or dead. That has to change. It hurts me. When I paroled back to the same neighborhood. And I walked the street. And the mothers who didn't want me coming around, they didn't see me because of the bad things I was doing. Now they welcome me with open arms to see how they can get their grandchildren. Who's the raising grandchildren? That was Anita. She left. Anyway, these children are being passed off to their aunts, grandparents, foster care, you name it. We have to rebuild our communities. And so many of us in here are trying to do the best we can. But until we put a common voice around our efforts, set some goals, and nobody's going to come in here and say it but us. But let's just figure out how we can work together. I'm not here asking for any money because we don't sell government money. It says too many times in regulations to it. But New Path does. Double tax over there, it might trickle down some kind of way. But there's other agencies that do. And do have formerly incarcerated folks on their board. They're working them into the schools and they're getting the education. Everybody's trying to do a little bit. Until we figure out a way else we can do a whole lot for each other, we're going to be having these same discussions. We've been doing it for a while.
Thank
Different
you.
pockets of money coming through.
Thank you very, very much. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Tom Cartwright, and I'm a volunteer. Good evening. My name is Tom Cartwright. I'm a volunteer for the San Diego Organizing Project. I think one of the funding priorities for Proposition 47 grants should be reentry programs and supervision, required supervision. I speak from experience. My daughter is the recipient of being resentenced, and she was released last year, Proposition 47. For the first 3 weeks or so, she was doing fine because she was spending her time trying to get on parole or probation. She said, I need to be supervised. They said, hey, you're not on parole, you're not on, we can't do anything for you. My daughter is incarcerated again. She fell right back into the same habits. She had a drug problem and she just got with the same people. So I think we need that to be a requirement. We need some programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call up Joan Bruno, Christy Figueroa, Susan Thornton Zadino, Rebecca Cervenak, and Juan Valderrama Jr. Thanks.
That goes fast. My name is Susan Thornton Zatino. I'm here representing A New Path. I'm an involved citizen. I've I'm from San Diego. My background is medical. I'm a veteran. I'm an educator. I'm a former educator within CDCR. I was a teacher at RJ Donovan. I've also participated in rallies to prevent the expansion of RJ Donovan Prison. And I'm currently married to an awesome man who is incarcerated at Folsom State Prison. So many people already said so many things, and I know 2 minutes goes fast. Yes, community, not jails. And, you know, you've already approved these monies to expand prisons and expand things within. Yes, they need programs within, because they're really not getting it now. It's changing a little bit. They need transitional services as they transition out, and they're not always getting that. I mean, sometimes transition is they go to a class and talk about how they write checks and stuff like that. And they're really not getting the services inside, but we don't want this money to go inside. If you want money for things inside, population has gone down in our prisons, but your staff hasn't. You're still paying the same amount of custodial officers to not give the services that the inmates really need. So if you have an issue with the budget of CDCR, look at the correctional officers and the money that's being spent on salaries alone. As the population has reduced, you're still spending more money every year on CDCR, which makes absolutely no difference. The staff has not gone down. You have not laid off. So if you're looking for money within CDCR, look at the staff salaries, specifically custodial officers. Somebody mentioned school to prison pipeline. As an educator within San Diego, you got to turn off the flow here, right? If the bathtub's overfilling, you got to turn off the faucet, as well as, open the drain, right? So investing in the communities pre-incarceration. Someone mentioned a program in Utah, which is as similar as a program in New Mexico, as similar to a program up in Washington State of diversion, right? Somebody's suffering from a mental health episode, a critical incident, then they get diverted, right? Housing first, mentally ill. I'm the sister of a brother who's lived unsheltered within Chula Vista specifically. And I know you have someone on your board who's the police captain of Chula Vista, right?
Right here.
Right. My brother has only encounters in Chula Vista with anybody that was supposed to help him with mental illness and chronic homelessness. Wasn't really to get him in any services that they told him to find your way downtown here every day, even though you don't have a job, find your way down here to Father Joe's, or we can send you out to East County to a faith-based program. Again, if it's about harm reduction, if it's about servicing the people within our communities, it is within our communities, and it is harm reduction, and it's servicing them where they stand. So I absolutely hope to see a completely diverse steering committee with focus on community programs, hopefully pre-incarcerating, hopefully diverting them from even becoming a part of the system. Again, school districts, schools, children of the incarcerated, children who are on the path to jail and prison, right? Things like that. Providing naloxone to our sheriff's department to save lives, yet people are dying in their custody in jails in San Diego because they're not receiving treatment. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca Cervenak. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a law degree with a specialization in creative problem solving. I worked in halfway houses, I worked for diversion programs, I was a criminal defense attorney, and I now practice civil rights. I only represent people with mental health conditions. My clients cycle in and out of psychiatric hospitals and jails and juvenile facilities. I hear lots of complaints about wanting services. People want help, but the long waits for county mental health, it takes months to get in to see a doctor. And someone mentioned before, I think several people mentioned the lack of qualified providers and the high turnover rates. The law requires intensive home-based services for children with mental health conditions, and kids aren't getting these services. There aren't enough providers, and there are areas where people just won't travel. They don't pay enough money, and they send young people who don't have the experience to deal with these significant mental health issues. They're also told, some of the kids with mental health are told that these programs are voluntary. So if the child doesn't want to cooperate in therapy, then the provider just quits and leaves them and leaves the parents with nothing. I don't want to see any of this money going into jails. I spend a lot of time in jails, and I know they have their issues. Inadequate medical care, inadequate mental health care, over-reliance on the use of isolation and solitary, but the voters have, when they voted for this proposition, they wanted prevention, they want rehab, they want to keep our kids out of juvenile halls and out of the cycling in and out of jails and psychiatric hospitals. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christy Figueroa, and I'm a leader with the San Diego Organizing Project, which is a nonpartisan, multi-faith-based organization. We worked very, very hard to make sure that Prop 47 passed. Why? Because we understood what it meant for us, and we understood what it meant for our communities. Here in San Diego, we mobilized over 800 volunteers that knocked on 25,000 doors, rain or shine, with my grandchildren and with my children. We care a lot. You guys care a lot? We care a lot. We care a lot about this particular law, simply because it affects our families and it affects our communities. I'd like to say, and it affects our lives. Tonight, we're here to make sure that you guys understand that we care. Everybody out here cares about this, and that's why we're here. Please make sure that this money is reserved for community programs. Do not send it back into the jails. We don't want to pay for services inside the jails. We need them out here. We need these funds to support programs in our communities. We don't want the same public agencies running these programs because it didn't work. That's not community. In fact, please make the RFP demand partnership with smaller community organizations. And I've also been recently trained to work in the VOTE program, restorative justice. If we don't have something for these families to come out with, we need resources for them. They're just gonna go back in. We don't want that. Please help us. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Juan Valderrama, Jr. I'm with the organization Youth Empowerment. And I just want to say what's going on, Chief. I remember when you were Chief of San Diego. And my background is a criminal background, and I say that because of incarceration. I've been in and out of prison since '93. I got out in 2013, and from my view, I mean, there's been a lot of strong points here. I'm excellent. I'm like motivated, and if I could verbatim the brother in the Hawaiian shirt, I would, but we don't have enough time. It really moved me, and I agree. We really can't allow these guys to come out with the same mindset that they went in with. We have to treat the cause, and if treatment is classified under education, I'm all for it, you know. But we need to treat them, whether that's dual diagnosis, whether it's mental illness. We have to, because when I would get out, I would have this grandiose idea that I'm gonna get a job and this and that, and I just go back to my area, and I'd be around the same people that approved or encouraged me, or I encouraged to have this type of thinking. And the thinking that I'm talking about is criminal addictive thinking, and that's the culture that I come from. I've never committed a crime that I wasn't either drinking or loaded, and I can assuredly tell this audience, this panel, that I've never been in jail or prison with anybody that didn't have a substance abuse problem. The only thing I could think of that they were addicted to, if they didn't use drugs or alcohol, was money or violence. But substance abuse played a huge role. So my recommendation is that we have to have treatment. We have to find out if they have a substance abuse problem, a mental illness problem, and treat it. We need preventive care. If we don't get that for the youth, right now, we're gonna be doing this for another 25 years. If we don't get to the youth right now, we're gonna be repeating the cycle. And we're all gonna be blaming law enforcement, the community, CDCR, we're gonna be blaming the finger. We're gonna be pointing at each other. What did you do? What did you do? And I believe in solutions now. I know that I was part of the problem and I'm trying to be part of the solution. And I can tell you this, I can tell you from experience. CDCR just changed its name. They just added rehabilitation a few years ago. When I got out, there was no rehabilitation. And I'm not blaming the COs, I'm not blaming their salaries, I'm not blaming, all those points are made, we all know. But what I do know is this, they don't have structure in there. The only structure they have is feeding you in your cell, walking you to the chow hall. That's it. They let you out in the yard for an hour. I mean, I know it's not, you're not there because you've been granted a vacation. You know, I know there's punishment, and I'm not talking about solitary confinement. That's a whole different monster. But I'm just talking about basic incarceration. These guys are coming out with the same mentality, and they're going to the same streets, like he said. And when they get out, $200 is nothing. That's to buy a sack. So, in 6 months of sober living, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's barely enough time to get a job, focus on what you're doing. What we need, and I'm not saying this because I think I know, I do know. What we need is this. Don't let me off paper, parole, probation, AB 109, and not have a follow-up. When I get off paper, I need a follow-up. You need to know that I'm doing well. And the reason why I say this is because we're working with youth and families right now that they're not on probation, they're not on parole, they're homeless, they have substance abuse problems, and nobody wants to help them. And that's a shame by our community, all of us, that you have to commit a crime to get help in San Diego. That's right. So all I'm saying is that we need prevention and treatment. Thank you.
We're really close to the 8 o'clock hour, but I believe the panel is willing to stay for as many more speakers as may wish to come. We have a lot more names here. So I'm just going to read through a whole bunch. I think some people might have filled out a card just to let us know you were here. So there's certainly no requirement to speak, but I'm just going to call the remaining names, and anybody who'd like to come forward, that would be great. We have Arthur Circano from Youth Empowerment. I'm sorry if that's not the right pronunciation. Thomas Smith, Paul Stevens, Joaquin Mena, Clovis Honore, Norma Sandoval, Maria Castrejon, Deborah Samuels, Isaac Mejia, Michelle Ruiz. There's a few more after that. Let's get those folks up. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Norma Sandoval, and I'm also a member of San Diego Organizing Project. I am an administrator as well, in education over about 20 years. And I'm also the chair of the East County SARB, which is a Student Attendance Review Board. And one of the things that people ask me is, like, being an administrator, what are you doing? You know, going and knocking on doors, like Chrissy said, and getting people to vote for Prop 247. And I told them, I'm up here, and I'm here today because I see the effects that Prop 47 has on children in my schools. The thousands of students that came before me, the thousands of students are going to come, you know, after that. I see how their homelessness, their foster care is being impacted because their parents are incarcerated, or they come out and mom's back, but then again, mom's back in jail. And so this creates instability. Now, I'm going to probably email you guys with more information, but the ACE study, the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, That's one where they are talking about how the experiences of children affect their livelihood and their health in later years. There was a study by Kaiser Permanente here in San Diego. And so that tells us very much that we need to be able to invest in our children. 25% is supposed to go to education, but don't just give it to schools. As an educator, I'll tell you right now, the local control funding formula, that's great, but the reality is that there's no accountability. So if you're going to give it to schools, make sure that it's actually going to go in a way that's going to go to restorative justice programs, that it's going to go to programs where they're going to be teaching children to be proud of who they are. Because one of the things that I found in my master's degree is that too many of our brown and black young men drop out because they're suffering from depression. And because our culture does not allow these men to seek help, they remain untreated. And so they go into these systems that do not understand that they are clinically depressed, and they continue to perpetrate this onto the next generation. So I ask you to please invest in education, invest in programs that recuperate the families, not just the inmate, but also the family, bringing everyone together. How could the family be a support system? So that's what I would recommend to the board.
Hello, my name is Arthur Soriano, former gang member, been incarcerated most of my life. All my juvenile years pretty much took it from me. Hit the penitentiary when I was 18 years old, came out when I was 32. I have a loving family, I have a lot of support. I got caught up in that criminal addictive thinking like my brother Juan was talking about. It's something that took me many years to transform in my life, in my way of thinking of the consequences, the love, the support of my family, my wife, my new baby born, that's gonna be born in March. I'm glad that this order was spoken in this. There's many former gang members here, this line, over here, all over the room. And a movement started in my community in East San Diego, City Heights. And it all started at the MHS program. 3 or 4 of us began to communicate with one another that we were tired. We were tired of the same old ways of not getting us nowhere. So we started reaching out to the community. My homegirl / friend, Michelle Reese, and her family. We reached out, and what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna make this work? And it started with the youth. And by starting to work with the youth, it brought back personal healing. It brought back a transformation of a lifestyle. It brought back healing. It brought back respect from the principals in the community. It brought back respect from law enforcement, from probation, from juvenile judges. It's a work that's being done from the heart. We get no money at all. It's just part of our personal healing. So there's a movement that's happening in our community. There's an organization that's beginning to transform. And all I'm asking for is a vetting process from the board and our organization or other community organizations where we have that chance and capability to do what we need to do. There's a lot of healing, there's a lot of wounds, there's a lot of holes in different communities, in the East San Diego community, the Southeast community, and things just need to change. It hasn't been working. So I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity. And I want to thank all the former gang members that are here speaking on behalf of the community. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me here, first of all. And I'm here because I feel that the money that you guys are, wanting to put towards prisons and stuff, I feel like you guys need to put more towards not just the youth, but us mothers and parents who have been in the system. When we get out, housing, bus passes, more programs for our kids, more help to get jobs, because it's hard with felonies and with the kind of records that we come out with. I feel that we need more help out here instead of in there. Not just for ourselves, but for our kids. Because you know what, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are damaged as well. They need counseling, they need more programs like youth empowerment and more, help besides us grown-ups. So that's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
My name is Thomas Smith, and I'm from an organization called Positive Gentlemen. And my thing is, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over, expecting different results. And I think that is insane that, people come out of prison, on the AB 109 program that has no follow-up. That has, whenever you finish, they have nothing for you. They don't even give you a card no more saying that you completed anything, showing that, that you are trying to make a change. And my problem is this, too much money is going into organizations that is not working, and also that, there's a lot of grassroots programs out there that are doing the footwork. There's a lot of agencies just like mine, Youth Empowerment, Positive Gentlemen, ACE program. There's a lot of programs out there that are trying to do what we need to do, but there is no funding for us. It's like we gotta go with a bigger organization, but then you know what? Those are canned results. Those organizations, those ones that get the money, we don't know where the money goes, because we know one thing: money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil, and it changes people. And my thing is this: I'm just glad that we have a chance to voice this. Thank you guys up there for even allowing us to talk. But also, if you're not deeply passionate about this Prop 47, you're saying, if it's not hitting you right in the heart, then what is your purpose? I'm saying, what is your purpose? If you're not deeply affected by, I heard a woman here say that she had a boyfriend that that made it through. And my congrats to your boyfriend or your husband.
I'll be happy.
But I'm just saying, 2 minutes is not even enough time to even get off my chest what I want to get off my chest. But in respect of you guys being up there, thank you guys for letting us have a voice.
Thank you.
My name is Joaquin Mena. I'm just a community leader. I come from City Heights. I work with youth empowerment, Positive Gentlemen. I volunteer in the community rap services. Man, it's just I've been, since I was 13, I've been involved in gangs, drugs. I was a teenage father, and I'm 32 now, and I'm barely getting my life together. And well, I've barely been able to latch on to something that is keeping me out of jail. But I do need more help. I have 3 infants, and I don't have housing. CPS, like, they came and they like helped a little bit, but they saw I was with my mom and they said, "Oh, you're fine." It's tension's growing there. Like, I can't be there forever. My kids are growing. We need our own space, and there's just a lot of how we're in need. We're in need. I want to thank you guys for listening to us, because we are in need. If all of us, we're all getting together doing this out of our own time, not getting paid nothing. It's all this worth. We need it. We need it. And right now we are working miracles. And I just want you to imagine what more we can accomplish with funding.
I'm Isaac, and first of all, I want to thank everybody that came out tonight to give their input, their opinions. I'm with the organization Youth Empowerment. I'm also a student of La Jolla High School. First of all, when I was about when I was about in the 8th grade, I got introduced to drugs, and I just not now, about a year ago, I've been clean and sober, and I just wanna. It didn't take me any money, any funding to get me to get clean, but I just want to thank God that I saw before ahead of time, and where I think the funding should go to, instead of like going to prisons. I know that the youth nowadays have drug classes, programs that they're able to go to. Now they have that, but what about for the adults, the mothers, the fathers, the sons, the daughters, the nieces, the nephews, cousins, uncles, aunts? Where are they gonna go? And where are they gonna land when they get out and they have nowhere else to go? Like they're saying, $200 is not enough for someone to do what they gotta do to, like, what if they have like debts that they need to pay and they have no way to afford it? There's got to be some way that they could have income, like, to be able to afford what they got to pay for. Like they're gonna be lost if they don't have like any loans or anything like that. They're basically, it's just like it's putting a needle in a haystack and trying to find its way out. Myself, I was able to get out of a school in the hood to a school in a nice neighborhood. The school I go to now, I love it. It's very, how do I say, it's good. Yeah. But the main reason why I like that school is you feel comfortable. You feel like you don't have to feel that you need to fit into a school. But I'm getting off track. But it's, and another place to send the money to is low income families that have drug addicted family members or mental health disorders, and they need money to pay for medication to help stabilize them, and in other such ways as like keep them healthy and not running around doing stupid things. They have good intentions but have wrong actions, and they like Thomas said, like they keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. But this time they need to change their own mentality on their own. They're old enough to know right from wrong. They should be able to know their morals from now. Like, and
I've got to wind up here, bud, sorry.
Well, that's basically what I gotta say. Thank you for letting me talk.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming this evening and having this meeting. I'm glad to see so many community members turn out. My name is Clovis Honore. I'm the Executive Director of San Diego Area Congregations for Change. We are a consortium of faith-based organizations that do community organizing and civic engagement. I want to talk to you tonight about something I wonder if you hear anybody else mention. It's called disproportional overrepresentation and equity. As you've already heard this evening, the prison population is disproportionately overrepresented by people of color. But this disproportion is not equitable. According to the census, Latinos are 38.6% of the California population, but they are 42% of the prison population. This represents a 10% overrepresentation. African Americans are 6.5% of the California population, but 29% of the prison population. This represents a 346% overrepresentation of African Americans in the prison system. So your question this evening is, what should the funding priorities for the Prop 47 grants be? I think that your funding priorities should recognize this disproportionality and that the allocation should be made to eliminate these disparities. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah, and I'm with San Diego Organizing Project. Earlier, I said I didn't want to say anything, but having a brother that is a drug addict, and he been to jail, he been into the BVSD where he ready with a program, and I don't see anything because he come out jail, he go in jail, he sell drugs, he do drugs, and you all don't really have a program like what everyone say, and this probably is a repetition, but I think I have to come up and say something because the day my mom died, he was in jail. The day was my mom's surprise birthday party, he was in jail. And you know, the family is having pain because I came from Panama to have a better life here. My mom sent him here to have a better life, but I think here had more drugs and no program. So I think you all need to take that money because I knock a whole lot of doors with a bummy knee and a cane for you all to do your job. And don't look at us and say, oh yes, we're going to do, because when you all go out here, we're like, oh, let's open more jails, because I see they opening more jails. I see on the news, they say they have more jails that they're doing instead of using that money for the victim of crime, for those guys that get the misdemeanor, the felony low down to misdemeanor. You all really need to help them, because that lady said she have her husband that is PhD. I wish my brother has his PhD in zoology, like what he wanted. My mom died, and he's still doing the same thing. So it's just a revolving door for them to just stay in jail. So you all really need to do something, because people like me, I will go knock your door and ask you what you're doing, because I really want to see that the job I did knocking door, it really worth something while. Thank you.
I'm going to read the remaining cards, and if anyone else who had their name called earlier would like to come up, that would be great. Sorry, we're going to take all the people who haven't yet spoken. Okay, so the people we haven't yet heard from are Maria Castrejon, Sandra Rodriguez, Claudia Ruiz, Fred Burchak, and Richard Barrera. One more, excuse me. Connie Mack. Come on up, even if you haven't spoken yet and I didn't call your name, please come to the line.
Okay, may I start? Okay. Hello, my name is Claudia Ruiz. I'm with the Organization of Youth Empowerment, and I am currently going to Bayside Blended. I am on probation right now. And honestly, I think that the funds should go towards the kids the youth actually, that don't really have healing in their hearts. Like with probation, the only way you can receive the services that for like mental health and all of that, you have to go through a certain process on a certain level of probation. And I don't think that's right. Like, why do you have to be more of a criminal in order to receive those services? Like, why don't you go find out what the root of them acting out is? Also, I would like to talk about having more like classes for like life skills, because later on when the youth are released from school, they don't know what to do after. Like when they graduate high school, yeah, they have the diploma, but they don't know what they're doing later on. And you guys always mention how we are you guys' future, yet we don't know what we are supposed to do in your future. I would also like to talk about how probation, half the time, they're quick to violate you on little reasons, and they're quick to lock you up. Like, that's not the answer. Locking people up, well, the youth up for like little petty violations is not right. that's not gonna teach them to do right. They're just gonna get used to being locked up, and that's not what we want for our future. I don't really know what to say anymore, but I've changed a lot since I was with the Organization of Youth Empowerment. A year ago, I would have been still out there using marijuana and running the streets. Now, on February 11th, I will be off of marijuana for 1 year. And I'd like to say that our communities need more organizations like Youth Empowerment, people that would actually be there and support them, and also be there for them when no one else can. They let me know that I have a voice in this thing we call our earth. And that's all. Thank you for letting me speak.
Hello, my name is Frank Burchak. I work with the Public Defender's Office. I'm one of the attorneys that has been doing a lot of the Prop 47 work. And in terms of looking throughout the state, San Diego and a lot of the community may not know this, but we have embraced Prop 47 in a way a lot of communities and counties have not. We filed more petitions than any other state, any other county in the state. We've had more reviewed, and in part that's because of the collaboration between the courts and the district attorney's office and the communities. And there are members of the court and members of the district attorney's office who are still here tonight because there is that passion. There are members from the county, high-level county government who are here because this is a county that cares about it. Now, and I know there's some skepticism about that. I do strongly encourage people because I've seen that they actually do care about it. And one issue that we've seen a lot is even when we get the relief, there are people who it doesn't go through Department of Justice, so their records don't get fixed even though they've gotten relief here at the court level. Perhaps they've gotten out of custody or they've been taken off probation, but they're still having the problems truly cleaning up their record and removing those collateral consequences that come from the felony convictions, which is part of the reason I think Prop 47 is so important, is removing the barriers to healthcare, removing the barriers to housing and education that we've been talking about. So if there is some way to look at really truly making sure that the records get cleaned up in a way, there's only so much we can do in the criminal justice system, and there has to be some fights about how the people who are eligible for the relief should get the relief, and that doesn't always happen.
Hello, my name is Connie Mack. I work with the San Diego Organizing Project, and I'm a Unitarian Universalist, but I'm just sort of speaking on my own. I'm not necessarily representing the group. But there were just some things that were said here. I wasn't planning to speak, but I just want to say thank you to the professor from UCSD who put a spotlight on the elephant in the room, which is that the for-profit prison system sort of slipped in under the radar over the past 15, 20 years. And by the time people really realized what and who they were firmly entrenched. Now, the billion-dollar prison industry, they're called for-profit, but that's not profit. They are a handout for government handout corporations, because that's where that money comes from. It doesn't come, they didn't make anything with their hands or with their minds to make a profit. The government hands them money, and then they provide beds, and they make the government, in many cases, guarantee that those beds will be full. And how do corporations work? The stockholders want to see their money go up and increase. Well, how do you increase? You've got more beds to fill. So they want more prisons, and it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's like, okay, they make money by having people in prison. The government pays them. They want a guarantee, so let's go find some more people to put in prison. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It is a totally opposite of any chance of, rehabilitation. So anyway, and I thought about it. San Diego is one county. All over this country, there are counties and cities who are giving $1 billion here and $1 billion there and $1 billion here to for-profit or for-handout prison corporations. That's a lot. As somebody once said, $1 billion here and $1 billion there, pretty soon you're talking about real money. And so I just dawned on me, I thought, you know what? In a real world, they simply would not exist in a fair world. But the last thing I want to say is that we should be discussing how all of these people here are going to split up the $2 billion, and these for-profit companies should be figuring out how to tell their shareholders they're only getting $1.something million.
Hi, my name is Sandra Rodriguez, and I'm with the Mid-City Community Advocacy Network in City Heights, San Diego. Firstly, thank you so much for being here and listening to the input from San Diego residents. It's very important to all of us. And as far as the funding is concerned, I agree with so many that have spoken here tonight. I think that this money needs to be kept in the community, not be fed back into the prison system. And more notably, I think it needs to go into the hands of credible messengers, folks that are out in the communities like Barrio Logan, City Heights, Southeast San Diego, where they're literally on the ground, preventing crimes from happening, keeping youth and adults out of the system, and reducing recidivism, which is supposedly one of the main focuses of this group. Feed it back into community organizations like youth empowerment, where credible messengers are able to be the ones that get the funding to do the job that you say is so important to you. Invest in your ex-offenders, essentially, and allow them to be employed in their community and help the people that this claims to be meant to be helping. So, thank you.
I'm not seeing anybody. Everybody had an opportunity? Well, such a thoughtful evening. It's a lot of passion in the room. People are heartfelt. Probably the highest number of pre-incarcerated individuals at any hearing that we've had thus far. And it was very moving. I can tell you the board has heard from community over community over community that they feel strongly about their CBOs being able to do the work associated with this savings and get the money passed through to them. We've heard that loud and clear. The board itself is charged with doing a number of things, and while I don't think we need to, debate, I can tell you that part of our obligation is moving construction money to jails. We do that based on legislation that is passed. Recommendations come to us per legislation, and we operate by moving that funding out, and we do it as a result of laws that are passed to do so. Reckoning with the fact that it does blur the issue when we get into a room like this, I can tell you that we are very cognizant of the fact that we have categorical funding streams that we do not mix. Understanding that people feel very strongly about the jail construction money, rest assured that there will not be a blend of this funding. We hear a lot about the needs of communities and the invisible people that are out there that are not being reached by governmental entities. I need to begin first and foremost by telling you that Prop 47 was written by the authors saying that a governmental agency would be the instrument that would move the money. The BSCC was charged with doing that. It is not a choice, but the application of the law that we will follow through with. a number of things resonated tonight with me in that the needs are great. Reentry is clearly a necessary item. We can tell you that they're doing that in the prison system, clearly not long enough and often enough. We hear a number of initiatives moving through the prison system to do just that. This money will be spent in communities according to the community's desire. It is going to require collaboration to be successful. And so I really urge San Diego to collaborate and move the many agendas here tonight in a fashion that fits the needs of San Diego. I can tell you we heard different needs last night in LA and different needs the night before in San Bernardino. It is an awesome, heavy lift that this body is going to do, but it won't be done by forgetting what we heard here tonight. And I'm very comfortable with you holding us accountable. When we looked hard at who we would put in charge of this effort, Supervisor Perez and Scott Budnick were not done so by mistake. It was because they represented some ideology and the message that we wanted to send out into the communities. Government's not perfect. The problems that we face today have been around year over year over year. Prop 47 is an enormous beginning. Realignment was a beginning. And I think we live in a time when we're really trying to reckon with all that. I don't think any of us would be here if we didn't believe in the incremental change that it's going to take to move this agenda forward. So thank you so much for all of what you said tonight. I don't think conversation is very meaningful unless you're a little uncomfortable when you're hearing it. So I want you all to know I heard you. And I'm committed to where we need to go. I'm going to let other members say what they thought about the evening.
Well, thank you. Even though we've lost a lot of our audience, I know it's been a long evening. I want to thank everyone in the audience for being here. Our speakers are very passionate, a lot of energy. Trust us, you moved us with the pain, the grief, the struggles over the years, and we commend you as far as the new path you have taken. And most importantly, your outreach individually through your organizations in changing lives, saving lives. When we talk about the makeup of the Executive Steering Committee, I can assure you that when we have the full audience here, members of the committee will look like you, have your experience, your expertise, formerly incarcerated. A lot of the organizations represented here, you'll see similar, if not the same organizations represented on the steering committee. The needs are tremendous out there. And this is about providing a better opportunity to stop that deadly cycle of in and out of the system. Better opportunity for the services. And once again, you can have the best services in the world, but a tremendous need on the mental health side, substance abuse, housing. We heard that loud and clear tonight. The gentleman trying to complete his education is going to be out in the street in about a month. You can't complete that education. You can't complete the treatment unless you have a roof over your head and housing. Innovation, trying to leverage resources and funding. And again, this will be community-based. A huge part will be partners heavily involved with the public agencies. So thank you so much for coming out.
You know, when I left the public defender's office after years and thousands of cases, I left with a very heavy heart. And I did so because I did not believe that the system really could allow for the kind of transitions that I saw so many people were ready to make. So many were not, frankly, and were quite comfortable in that system. But for those that were, I did not see the methods and the ability to transition those folks into affordable housing, safe housing, right? Clean neighborhoods with good jobs, ability to advance job skills, and to do so in a way that's dignified and in a way that creates healthy communities from the bottom up. And this is the first time that I have been involved with the criminal justice system that I see it possible and I see it happening. And that is so encouraging to me because it is present, obviously, in the engagement and the passion that we see here, the anger, right, the righteous indignation we hear tonight. We, of course, up here are here to help change that. To hear from you loud and clear, I appreciate your passion. I appreciate our law enforcement officers who are here, who are keeping us safe and are out there on the streets doing a tough job every day. We have got to do this all together, and we have to transition together, and we have to grow and learn together. It has to be collaboration. We cannot ostracize one another based on any factors. And so I'm hopeful that this direction is one in which is going to bring us together, help us understand each other's needs and challenges and pains, and help us heal those as one community, as we certainly can't do it when we are divided. I believe united we can do so much. You've shown that here tonight. So it's a privilege for me to hear from you. It's very humbling. I feel like there's so much more work I got to do and to listen, to engage, and to make sure that that committee is really representative of all of the needs of this great state of California, 39 million people, 58 counties. We have a lot of work to do. So I encourage you, go online, click on that application. Please, please put your qualifications forward because what we are crafting here really is the future. And it's exciting, so I hope you're part of that process too. Thank you.